Thank you guys for all of your support. I recently hit 50 subscribers on this YouTube channel. I'm really happy about that. Your support really means a lot, and thank you for your support, and in return I will be continuing to create content for you guys. So there are a lot of bad operating systems out there, and I'd like to talk to you about my top 5 worst in my opinion. What's an operating system? It runs on electronic devices like iPhones, iPads, laptops. Windows is an operating system. iOS is an operating system. Stuff like that. So, these are the top 5 worst ever in my opinion. Now, for various reasons, and I will tell you what the reason is for me picking that particular operating system. So, number 5, we have the Apple Lisa. Now, this is also a hardware type deal, but Lisa was the name of the operating system. It was released in 1983, right before the Macintosh. It was Apple's first attempt at having a graphical user interface, or GUI, G-U-I, on a computer. The GUI is different from computers of the time because at the time all computers were text-based. It's where you had to type in the lines of code to get the computer to do anything. There was no mouse, it was just the black screen with white text, and it was really hard to use and daunting to even try to learn. GUIs use a mouse and icons on the screen, and it's not text only, so it's way easier to use, and Apple's first shot at this was this, and it's really weird for me to say that this is the 5th worst ever, but that's because it costed $10,000 in 1983 money, and I don't know about today really specifically, but in 2006 money, the buying power of $10,000 in 1983 up to 2006 is the buying power of $20,000. So it's almost, so if you were to buy an Apple Lisa in today's market, it would cost you over $20,000. That's like the price of a new car. So you can choose between a new car for the family or a little tiny computer that nobody had a use for really back then. So that's why it's one of the worst. It was just way too expensive for that time, and still today, because they couldn't make things cheap enough to have a good price. Coming in at number 4 is Windows Vista, which was released in 2006, and yes, it's by Microsoft. That's why it's got the name Windows. Why was it bad? Well, it was truly rushed. Here's a little bit of history on it. Microsoft decided, alright, we're going to build the next version of Windows after Windows XP was released. So in 2001, 2002-ish, they took Windows XP and they built, and they built, and they built, and they built. And they added features, they added this, they changed things, they tweaked it, they adjusted stuff, new sounds, all that kind of stuff. By 2004, it became so massive with all the stuff they put on that it was way too unstable. It kept crashing. Things went wrong. Things wouldn't work. It was just bad. It kept crashing and it was horrible. So, and that was the Windows Longhorn project. That's what Vista could have been. So they scrapped Longhorn. And then they took Windows Server 2003 and they built on that. They went from a server edition of Windows to a regular home version for the average user in under 2 years. It was very rushed. Normally no company would do that, but Microsoft felt the need to, and it was really rushed. So Windows Vista ironically had some problems that Longhorn did. It was bloated, it ran slow on some hardware, and it just got the blue screen very frequently. Now Service Packs fixed this, but it was still really bad from the start. And plus, it wouldn't work on a lot of old hardware because the system requirements were so much higher than those of Windows XP. So that's why a lot of people didn't go to Vista. That's why a lot of people are still on XP, but Microsoft is trying to get them to go to 7 or 8 because they're killing support for Windows XP in like a month or 2. So at number 3, we have iOS 6, which is in 2012. It is running on this device. I do have it. Why don't I update it? This is an iPod Touch 4. It's incompatible. Now, yes, the iPod Touch 4 is not the best spec-wise, but it was still allowed to get the update, So I'm blaming Apple and saying iOS 6 was bad, because I also had bad experience on my iPhone 5, which it was designed for. It was designed for iOS 6, and it was still pretty bad. So let me talk about some problems. In my experience, certain places in the operating system, it is slow. It was slow. Things wouldn't launch quickly. Apps would crash all the time. I've had problems with messages, phone, calendar, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. So, just all these things wrong with it kind of leads me to say that I'd rather have 5 than 6. These features aren't worth having the bad operating system. But, can't do anything about it. That's why this is running 6, not 5. And iOS 6 was released in 2012. Coming in at number 2, we have Windows 1.0, which was released in 1985. Now, it's really weird to say that the grandfather of Windows 8.1 and Windows 7 and all that other stuff, the great stuff that we love today, it's really weird to say that it's one of the worst, in fact the second worst, but it just was. They didn't have icons, it was a graphical interface, but you could easily get through it without a mouse. The only thing like Paint wouldn't work, but it really wasn't that much different from using DOS other than it had colors and you could use a mouse, and it was just bad. It was slow, and Windows really didn't become good until version 3. So Windows 1.01 was the second worst. So we have Apple Lisa 1983, Windows Vista 2006, iOS 6 2012, Windows 1.0 1985. What's the worst one? Windows ME. ME stands for Millennium Edition. Now, this was released in the year 2000, and some of you have heard me rant about this before, as I have. Windows ME was easily the worst operating system that Microsoft has ever put out, and I say it's the worst one any company has ever put out. Here's what happened. The reason they have Windows ME and Windows 2000 were both released in the year 2000, the reason for that is Microsoft wanted to get away from the old MS-DOS code, which was used from Windows 1.0 through Windows 98 of the time, and it was incorporated in Windows ME. So they switched completely. 1995, they began including their new code, Windows NT, and as Windows progressed, new versions came out, they added more. So Windows 98 had more NT than Windows 95 did, but Windows 2000 was completely NT, almost completely NT. It barely had any DOS in it at all, to the point where it's virtually gone. So they really had problems with people using DOS-based programs because they wouldn't really work. So they created Windows ME, which was DOS-based. It was kind of like Windows 98 3rd edition, because that's kind of what it was. It was just Windows 98 with a few extra features. It looked the same, it ran the same, but it was a real POS because it would crash all the time. Plug and play was really bad. You plug in a USB drive, blue screen. Very frequently. About half the time that would happen. Plug in a printer, blue screen. Or things wouldn't work. I have a computer that has Windows ME on the hard drive. The computer itself doesn't work, but if I take the hard drive out and I pop it in another computer, it kind of loads. Like, it loads an interface and it works, but it doesn't go beyond trying to find drivers for everything. Things were just wrong with it, and it was a really horrible operating system. But really quick, my friend started up a tech channel. I really appreciate it. He and I would both really appreciate it if you go check it out. His name's Alex. Bam! Click right there, and they will take you to his channel. He just put up a video yesterday. So, and he's good. He knows what he's talking about with tech, and he's going to do a lot of what I do. Same things I talk about, he's going to talk about. Not same topics, but, you know, the same type of thing. And he knows his stuff, just like me. He and I are very similar. We're both very techy. So click right there if you'd like to check out his channel. So guys, tell me, which of these operating systems do you think is the worst? Let me know with a comment below. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks for the 50 subscribers. I really appreciate it. I will see you next Sunday. Bam! Thank you for your support. What the hell is that?